All India Radio presents Morning News. Good morning. I'm Sunil Verma and with me is Sarabjit Kaur. The headlines. Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman says India has set a global benchmark in digitization. India calls for investments in infrastructure and simplification of international taxation rules. World Bank warns that global economy is dangerously close to a recession. IMF says India is a bright spot on the dark horizon. President Draupadi Murmu to inaugurate and lay foundation stones of various development projects in Assam today. All India Conference of Law Ministers and Law Secretaries to begin today in Ekta Nagar, Gujarat. Jammu and Kashmir government orders premature retirement of 36 police personnel for involvement in corruption and criminal activities. In shooting, India bags bronze medal at ISSF World Championship in Cairo, Egypt. And in women's cricket, India to face Sri Lanka in summit clash of T20 Asia Cup in Bangladesh tomorrow. Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman has said that India is setting the global benchmarks on the digital front, and there is a sense of confidence in the country that it will be able to face geopolitical and economic uncertainties and still perform. Ms. Sitharaman made these remarks at an event at Johns Hopkins University in Washington on the topic Technology, Finance and Governance, the Multiplier Effect. Answering a question on India's economic prospects in the face of global uncertainty, Ms. Sitharaman said, India is now setting global standards and countries around the world recognize the scale of achievement.
India has actually set benchmarks. There are countries which recognize that this scale of achievement is an absolute watertight proof that it is unfailing over the years, over the numbers and the size of the expansion that it is dealing. We actually have set global benchmarks in the way in which digital economy and the services that digital platforms can do for us, and that itself for India is a very big confidence booster.
The Finance Minister said the Indian economy's revival is on a sustained path and it will continue to be resilient in the face of a possible global recession. Explaining the Modi government's approach, she said, good governance in India is being achieved by the use of technology, and a certain transformation has happened due to ramping up the capacity for digitalization of the economy. She said that a certain transformation has happened in India in the recent past, and people have adapted to the change with great ease. Earlier, Ms. Sitharaman participated in the second day of the ongoing G20 finance ministers and central bank governors meetings in Washington, D.C. Speaking at the event, the finance minister called for investments in infrastructure and simplification of international taxation rules. She stressed the need to mobilize finance at subnational level for inclusive and quality infrastructure. Ms. Sitharaman said international tax rules should be simple, administrable and generate meaningful revenue in developing countries. The finance minister also called for an effective tax reporting regime and information exchange between jurisdictions for crypto assets to combat offshore tax evasion. Ms. Sitharaman said India views the hosting of the G20 presidency as an opportunity as well as a responsibility. The minister said rebuilding trust in multilateralism is at the core of India's thinking. Ms. Sitharaman said G20 finance ministers have always come together in the harshest global situations. She urged the finance ministers and central bank governors to continue working together with this sense of solidarity. World Bank President David Malpass has warned that the global economy is dangerously close to a recession and called for targeted support for the poor. He said the World Bank has lowered 2023 growth forecast from 3% to 1.9% for global growth. He said that's dangerously close to a world recession. Mr. Malpass was talking to reporters on the sidelines of the annual meeting of the World Bank and the International Monetary Fund in Washington. He said all problems such as inflation, rise in interest rates and cut-off of capital flows to the developing world have hit the poor hard. He said these problems pose a huge challenge for the World Bank. Mr. Malpass said, "We are focused on helping people get ahead in developing countries."
International Monetary Fund (IMF) has described India as a bright spot on the dark horizon. IMF Managing Director Kristalina Georgieva said that India deserves to be called a bright spot on this otherwise dark horizon because it has been a fast-growing economy even during these difficult times. She was replying to a question on her expectations from India just days before it takes over the presidency of G20. Ms. Georgieva was talking to reporters on the sidelines of the IMF and World Bank annual meetings in Washington. She said most importantly, India's growth is underpinned by structural reforms. IMF's Deputy Director of Fiscal Affairs Department, Palio Mario, had earlier termed Narendra Modi government's direct benefit transfer scheme as logistical marvel considering the sheer size of the country. Mario had said that there is a lot to learn from India's DBT scheme that seeks to help people who are at low income levels. President Draupadi Murmu will inaugurate and lay foundation stones of various development projects in Assam today. These projects belong to Assam government and union ministries of road transport and highways, petroleum and natural gas, and railways. These include launch of model Anganwadi centers with modern facilities and Mission Saubhagya and inauguration of rail-fed petroleum storage depot of Indian Oil Corporation Limited at Moinabad, Silchar. The President is on a two-day visit to Assam. More details from our correspondent.
President Draupadi Murmu, on the second day of her visit to the state, will virtually inaugurate 3,000 model Anganwadi centers and will also launch the Mission Saubhagya from Srimanta Shankardev Kalakshetra in Guwahati today. The President will lay the foundation stone for 100 model secondary schools for the tea garden areas and one Indian Oil Limited's rail-fed petroleum storage depot at Moinarband in Silchar, including a modern cargo-cum-coaching terminal at Agyathuri near Guwahati, virtually from the same event. Besides, the President will also inaugurate several sections of national highways in the state and will flag off passenger trains from Guwahati to Sokhubi in Nagaland via Landing and Guwahati to Mendipatha in Meghalaya. Today afternoon, the President will leave for New Delhi. Aminul Haqqar, Guwahati.
Yesterday, President Murmu inaugurated supercomputer facility Param Kamroop and laboratory for the design and development of high-power microwave components at the Indian Institute of Technology at Guwahati. The Param Kamroop, one of its kind supercomputer in the northeast region, is installed under the National Supercomputing Mission. Addressing the gathering, the President urged the science and technology institutes of the country to promote greater research and development so that India can be a leader in technological innovations beneficial for the larger good of the society. The President urged IIT Guwahati to encourage innovations, work towards indigenization in cutting-edge technologies, provide skill development avenues, and be a forerunner in making the country Atmanirbhar.
The Institute should encourage innovations, work towards indigenization in cutting-edge technologies, provide skill development avenues, and be a forerunner in making our country Atmanirbhar. I am delighted to have inaugurated facilities which will be instrumental in technological advancement and help meet future requirements of the country in the fields of healthcare, defense, education, and other areas.
On the occasion, President Murmu also virtually inaugurated the Medical College and Hospital at Dhubri and laid the foundation stones for two zonal institutes of National Institute of Virology at Dibrugarh in Assam and at Jabalpur in Madhya Pradesh.
Vice President Jagdeep Dhankar, who is on a maiden visit to Gujarat, will visit Ahmedabad and Gandhinagar today. Mr. Dhankar will visit Sabarmati Gandhi Ashram in Ahmedabad this morning. He will then address a program on excellence in higher education at Gujarat National Law University. The Vice President will virtually dedicate and lay the foundation stone of various projects on the occasion. Governor of Gujarat, Acharya Devavrat, and Chief Minister Bhupendra Patel will be present at the event. We have more from our correspondent.
During the program at Gandhinagar, Vice President will virtually launch the Centre of Excellence in Drone Technology at Ahmedabad-based Institute of Infrastructure Technology Research and Management. He will also felicitate a few startups and entrepreneurs in the field of legal and environment domain and recently recruited judges of state judiciary. The Vice President will virtually launch the Wi-Fi facility at all the government and grant-in-aid colleges of higher and technical education campuses. Scholarships to beneficiaries of Mukhyamantri Yuva Swavalaman Yojana will also be disbursed on the occasion. Aparna Khun, AR News, Ahmedabad.
Prime Minister Narendra Modi has said that Himachal Pradesh today realizes the strength of the double-engine government, which has doubled the pace of development in the state. The Prime Minister was addressing the gathering after laying the foundation stone of 2 hydropower projects and launching Pradhan Mantri Gram Sadak Yojana PMGSY 3 in Chamba in Himachal Pradesh yesterday. Highlighting the development in the last 8 years, the Prime Minister said a Mahayagya of rapid development is going on in the hilly areas, in the inaccessible areas, in the tribal areas all over the country. He asserted that the next 25 years are very crucial for 130 crore Indians. He added, India's Azadi Ka Amrit Kal has begun, during which they have to accomplish the goal of making India a developed country.
भारत की आजादी का अमृत काल शुरू हो चुका है, जिसमें हमें विकसित भारत का संकल्प पूरा करना है। एक एक हिंदुस्तानी का संकल्प अब पूरा करके रहना है। आने वाले कुछ महीनों में हिमाचल की स्थापना के भी 75 वर्ष पूरे होने वाले हैं। यानी जब देश की आजादी के 100 साल होंगे तो हिमाचल भी अपनी स्थापना के 100 वर्ष पूरे कर रहा होगा। इसलिए आने वाले 25 वर्षों का एक एक दिन, एक एक पल हम सबके लिए, सभी देशवासियों के लिए और हिमाचल के लोगों के लिए विशेष रूप से बहुत महत्वपूर्ण है।
Citing the example of vocal for local, the Prime Minister appreciated the women associated with self-help groups due to their impetus to efforts of the government to promote local products. The Prime Minister informed that these products are also being promoted under the One District, One Product scheme. Earlier in the day, the Prime Minister laid the foundation stone of Bulk Drug Park and dedicated the Indian Institute of Information Technology, IIIT, Una, to the nation. Mr. Modi also flagged off the inaugural run of the new Vande Bharat Express from Amb Andorra in Una to New Delhi. Speaking on the occasion, the Prime Minister said the decision to bring Vande Bharat to Himachal Pradesh also shows the priority that the government accords to the state.
मुझे अम्ब अंदौरा से लेकर दिल्ली तक की भारत की 4थी वंदे भारत ट्रेन को हरी झंडी दिखाने का सौभाग्य मिला है। ये भी सोचिए, देश में 4थी वंदे भारत ट्रेन, इतना बड़ा हिंदुस्तान, इतने बड़े बड़े शहर, लेकिन 4थी ट्रेन अगर मिली तो मेरे हिमाचल को मिल गई।
You are listening to the morning news on All India Radio. A reminder of the headlines before we move on. Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman says India has set a global benchmark in digitization. India calls for investments in infrastructure and simplification of international taxation rules. World Bank warns that global economy is dangerously close to a recession. IMF says India is a bright spot on the dark horizon. President Draupadi Murmu to inaugurate and lay foundation stones of various development projects in Assam today. All India Conference of Law Ministers and Law Secretaries to begin today in Ekta, Gujarat. Jammu and Kashmir government orders premature retirement of 36 police personnel for involvement in corruption and criminal activities. In shooting, India bags bronze medal at ISSF World Championship in Cairo, Egypt. And in women's cricket, India to face Sri Lanka in summit clash of T20 Asia Cup in Bangladesh tomorrow. For quick news updates round the clock, follow us on our Twitter handle at AIR News Alerts.
I am India. Look at me. Know my name. We're one of the most mega diverse countries on this planet.
Our weddings, our fashion statements,
They're all inspired by our silver screen heroes and heroines.
A 75 years young India.
What we are really going to see India become is a powerhouse.
India 2.0.
The Journey of India from 14th October every Friday at 7 p.m. in Hindi and 10 p.m. in English on DD National.
अपने बिजनेस को बढ़ाने के लिए लीजिए आकाशवाणी का सहयोग और दीजिए उसे बुलंदियों के पंख।
आपका बिजनेस लोकल है या राष्ट्रीय, आकाशवाणी देती है उपभोक्ताओं तक पहुंचने का हर विकल्प।
और अब तो आप घर, दफ्तर या दुकान पर बैठे बैठे कर सकते हैं आकाशवाणी के किसी भी केंद्र के लिए विज्ञापनों की बुकिंग।
आकाशवाणी के विभिन्न चैनलों पर विज्ञापन देना सुलभ और सस्ता।
बुकिंग है तो संपर्क करें 8700014242 पर।
8700014242।
Ministry of Law and Justice is organizing an All India Conference of Law Ministers and Law Secretaries from today in Ekta Nagar, Gujarat. Law Ministers and Law Secretaries from states and union territories will participate in the 3-day-long conference. The keynote address will be delivered by Union Minister of Law and Justice Kiren Rijiju tomorrow. Ministry of Law and Justice said this initiative will provide a forum for discussion on a variety of topics relating to India's legal system so that policymakers may develop a roadmap for the country's future. A 3-day international conference on sustainable agricultural innovations for resilient agri-food systems commenced in Jammu yesterday. The conference is being organized by Indian Ecological Society in collaboration with Sher-e-Kashmir University of Agricultural Sciences and Technology, SKUAST of Jammu. Union Minister Dr. Jitendra Singh was the chief guest on the occasion. In his inaugural address, Dr. Jitendra Singh stressed on working collaboratively and organizing the events in collaboration with industries and other stakeholders.
Jammu and Kashmir government has prematurely retired 36 police personnel on charges of their involvement in corruption and criminal activities. These personnel performed their duties in ways which were unbecoming of public servants and in violation of the established code of conduct. These employees were found involved in illegal activities, remained unauthorizedly absent from duties for a considerable period, underperformed, penalized in departmental inquiries, and some of them were found involved in corruption cases, facing serious criminal charges and had doubtful integrity. As per the recommendations of the review committee, the performance of these employees was found unsatisfactory and their continuation in the government service was found against public interest. Over the past 75 years since independence, India's largest public service broadcaster, All India Radio, has been the proverbial storyteller for crores of people across the country. All India Radio is celebrating 75 years of freedom with the series Azad Bharat Ki Baat, Akashvani ke Saath. It showcases the journey of India since independence in various walks of life through the storytelling of All India Radio. In today's episode, we bring you the story of India's rising stature on global stage.
India's stature on the global stage has grown significantly, and the world expects more from the country. Colonialism had reduced India to one of the poorest nations, but today it is the 5th biggest economy in the world. India has always prioritized cooperation over conflict, coexistence over competition, sharing over receiving, plurality over hegemony, and shared prosperity over zero-sum notions of growth. The country believes in the promise of diplomacy and international cooperation. India is firm on a zero-tolerance approach to cross-border terrorism. On all global platforms, India has reiterated that there is no justification for any act of terrorism. Ever since Narendra Modi assumed office as the Prime Minister of India, he has not only enhanced India's position at a global level, but also left a huge impact on world leaders. When COVID-19 pandemic posed an unprecedented challenge before the world, India played a significant role in addressing many issues with greater urgency. Prime Minister Modi said India's COVID vaccine Maitri program has helped more than 100 nations.
कोरोना जैसी वैश्विक महामारी में हम सब ने और दुनिया ने भारत का सामर्थ्य देखा है। सदी की इस सबसे बड़ी आपदा में ग्लोबल सप्लाई चेन्स में इतना बड़ा डिस्ट्रप्शन हुआ, फिर युद्ध ने भी इस संकट को और बढ़ा दिया। इन सब के बीच भी भारत आज ग्रोथ के एक बड़े केंद्र के रूप में उभर रहा है। अपनी वैक्सीन तैयार की।
Reports the Pioneer.
And now, before we end the bulletin, the headlines once again. Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman says India has set a global benchmark in digitization. India calls for investments in infrastructure and simplification of international taxation rules. World Bank warns that global economy is dangerously close to a recession. IMF says India is a bright spot on the dark horizon. President Draupadi Murmu to inaugurate and lay foundation stones of various development projects in Assam today. All India Conference of Law Ministers and Law Secretaries to begin today in Ekta Nagar, Gujarat. Jammu and Kashmir government orders premature retirement of 36 police personnel for involvement in corruption and criminal activities. In shooting, India bags bronze medal at ISSF World Championship in Cairo, Egypt. And in women's cricket, India to face Sri Lanka in summit clash of T20 Asia Cup in Bangladesh tomorrow. For details of these stories and more, log on to our website www.newsonair.gov.in and News on AIR app. And with that, we end the morning news. Have a nice day.